Lucille Ball is known as one of comedy's greatest icons thanks to her six-season sitcom I Love Lucy, in which she co-starred with her real-life husband Daisy Arnaz. But the actress didn't have an easy life. She had a tragic childhood and a marriage that looked perfect on screen, but was falling apart in real life. Ball faced heartbreak, betrayal, and personal struggles that few knew about. When she died in 1989, questions arose about what happened to her money, who inherited it, and join us as we uncover the tragic and untold story of Lucille Ball, her abandoned home, her children, the heartbreak she went through, and what happened to the money she left behind. Lucille Ball lost her father when she was very young. She was born on August 6, 1911, in western New York to Desiree DeHunt and Henry Durrell Ball. Not long after, the family moved around a lot. First, they went to Montana, where Henry worked as a telephone company lineman, and then they moved to Wyandotte, Michigan, when Lucille was 4 years old, was about 3 years old. In her autobiography, Love Lucy, she wrote that she loved her father and credited him with her sense of humor. Her mother said that Henry was the one who made her playful. He would throw her up in the air and catch her just before she hit the ground, which may have sparked her later love for physical comedy. "I'm known among comedians as a stunt girl who will do anything," she wrote. Lucille loved her father very much, but tragedy struck the same year they moved. Henry caught the flu while he was in Michigan, but before he could get better, a severe storm hit the area. He climbed telephone poles in the freezing sleet and snow to fix downed wires, even though he had a high fever. His condition quickly got worse, and his illness turned into typhoid fever. He died on February 28, 1915, leaving behind a devastated family and a young Lucille who would remember him and his sense of humor for the rest of her life. After Lucille Ball's father died, her mother eventually remarried a metal polisher named Ed Peterson. The family and Lucille's grandparents moved into a simple 3-bedroom house in Celeron, New York. They didn't have much money, but Lucille later wrote in her autobiography, Love Lucy, that her grandparents made their family life very happy. But just as things seemed to be getting better, tragedy struck again. On Lucille's 16th birthday, her grandfather Fred came home with a .22 caliber rifle wrapped in brown paper for her younger brother Freddie to start shooting. And soon their stepfather set up tin cans in the backyard for target practice. Their neighbors Cleo Johanna and Warner joined in the fun, but everything changed in an instant when Warner's mother called him home. Johanna picked up the gun and accidentally fired it, hitting Warner. He was taken to the hospital where doctors found the bullet had gone straight through his body. Warner's family sued Ed Peterson and won. They took our house, the furniture that Lucille's mother Dee Dee had worked so hard to get every week, the insurance, and everything else. Lucille remembered that her grandfather was devastated and would never work again. The heart went out of him. She said, "It ruined Celeron for us. It destroyed our life together there." A traumatic event as a child made her paranoid. Losing her father, when she was only 3 years old, was already even though Lucille Ball went on to become one of Hollywood's biggest stars. Her childhood was full of even scarier events that would stay with her for years. In her autobiography, Love Lucy Ball wrote about a particularly upsetting memory from when her mother was pregnant with her younger brother Freddie and her father got the flu, leaving her mother too busy to take care of Lucille. To keep Lucille from running away, her mother tied her up in the backyard with a dog leash every time someone came home. But according to biographer Charles Haim, that wasn't even the worst of it. In his book, The Real Life of Lucille Ball, he wrote about how when Lucille's father was diagnosed with typhoid fever, the whole family was put under quarantine. This had a lasting effect on young Lucille. Haim says that the forced isolation and rejection made her feel paranoid and gave her a lifelong need for love and acceptance, something that she has always needed. Someone told Lucille Ball to quit acting. Lucille Ball is without a doubt a comedy legend. Her career spanned decades and she won many awards, including the Golden Globe's Cecil B. Dale Award and a Lifetime Achievement Award in Comedy at the American Comedy Awards. Her impact on television is undeniable, inspiring generations of entertainers. But surprisingly, there was a time when she almost quit show business altogether. When she was only 15, Ball had her drama teacher didn't believe in her and told her straight out to give up. She didn't listen and instead dropped out of school and enrolled in the John Murray Anderson Dramatic School in New York. She got a few chorus line roles on Broadway, but it wasn't until she switched to modeling that her career really took off. Soon, her face was on billboards, magazine ads, and even drugstore window posters. In 1933, she set her sights on Hollywood, even though her drama teacher had told her to give up. Ball said in an interview with Rolling Stone in 1983, "I am not funny. My writers were funny. My directors were funny. The situations were funny. What I am is brave." Given the problems she had in her life, it's hard to argue with that. Her marriage to Daisy Arnaz was nothing like it was portrayed on screen. When I Love Lucy premiered on CBS in October 1951, it became an instant hit, thanks in large part to the likable on-screen couple Lucy and Ricky Ricardo. What made their relationship even more interesting was that Lucille Ball and Daisy Arnaz were married. For Ball, their love story was undeniable. "It was at least for me true love from the start," she said in an interview. But behind the laughter and chemistry, their marriage was far from perfect. In fact, I Love Lucy was partly made to save their failing relationship. Arnaz was known for drinking and cheating, which took a heavy toll on Keith Tobito, who played Little Ricky on the show. Show later told people, "Da was a great guy when he wasn't drinking, but as kids we definitely stay away from him when he was drunk." Ball's close friend and actress Ann Sothern remembered how much she suffered, saying, "Like all great comics, she had a sad streak." She told people, "When Daisy was drinking a lot, she'd call me in the middle of the night and say, 'Get the priest, do something.'" After 20 years of marriage, Ball finally filed for divorce in 1960. Looking back, she put it simply, "He was like Jekyll and Hyde. It was always the same booze and broads." Lucille Ball had 2 miscarriages with Daisy Arnaz. Fans of I Love Lucy may remember them as the perfect couple on screen, but their marriage was anything but perfect. Arnaz's heavy drinking and cheating on Ball left her emotionally drained, and some think the stress even made her heartbreaking battle with multiple miscarriages worse. So why did she stay in such a bad marriage for so long? Ruta Lee, Ball's friend and fellow actress, said that Lucy always wanted to please Arnaz. Lee told Closer Weekly, "I found it surprising because she was such a strong, independent woman, but when it came to Daisy, she was very old-fashioned. But even the strongest love has its limits. In 1944, after only 4 years of marriage, Ball and Arn, as briefly split up, they eventually got back together and agreed to work on more projects together so that their personal and professional lives could become more connected. They got closer, and I Love Lucy, which started in 1951, was a bright spot in Ball's troubled marriage. 3 months before the show started, she and Arnaz had their first child, Lucy. Their son Daisy Jr. was born in 1953. In an interview with People in 1980, Ball talked about her life and said that having her first child at age 39 was the proudest moment of her career. She retired her famous character to film her final movie. The movie I Love Lucy didn't do well at the box office, but when it was on TV, it had everyone hooked. In 1989, the Los Angeles Times said that the show was so popular that it pretty much stopped the country in its tracks every Monday night from 9 to 9:30 p.m. Some department stores even put up signs that said, "We love Lucy too." While it was on, the beloved sitcom ended in 1957, but Lucille Ball wasn't quite ready to say goodbye to her famous character. In 1968, she started Here's Lucy, this time with her 2 children to help their careers. Once they were successful, she decided it was time to retire Lucy for good in 1974, saying, "The Lucy character is too old to run around like an idiot." That same year, Ball had what would be her last movie role in Maine, a movie version of the Broadway musical. Unfortunately, the reviews weren't great. Jerry Herman, who composed the play, later told the Miami Herald that he was very disappointed with Ball's performance, but that wasn't her only mistake. In 1986, when she was 75 years old, Ball made one last attempt at TV with Life with Lucy. The show was a disaster and a terrible burden. Her former publicist, Thomas Watson, said that they were still writing for the old Lucy instead of making a character more fitting for her later years, like the Golden Girls. Lucille Ball's son, Daisy Jr., became a drug addict. Daisy Arnaz Jr. was Lucille Ball's second child and was born in 1953. Unfortunately, he got more than just his famous father's name. He also got the reputation of being a playboy. Looking back on his younger years, Daisy Jr. told people in 1978, "I was a playboy from the time I was 13. I thought I was in love," and he wasn't exaggerating. He also struggled with drug abuse, which his mother worried about all the time because Lucille had a lot of problems with it. When Lillian Briggs Winterrad, Daisy Jr.'s close friend, talked about how she never gave up on him because of drugs and everything else, Daisy Jr. later said, "When I was doing drugs, they tried to help me. My father had a drinking problem, and my mother was a person like anyone else. When I went through drug and alcohol recovery 7 years ago, they were there with me." Eventually, Daisy Jr. decided to get help, and both his parents were there by his side, were invited to come with me, and they did. He told in 2020 that they were very supportive, and I think what happened to me helped them a lot. Lucille Ball's unstable marriage made her irritable. By 1960, Lucille Ball had had enough of Daisy Arnaz's cheating and gambling. After 18 years of a volatile marriage, she quit. She'd had enough of Daisy's partying and gambling for 18 years. Her longtime friend Lillian Briggs Winterrad said she wanted out of the marriage. Ball was tired of Hollywood because everyone was always saying, "Poor Lucy." She wasn't just tired of her marriage, she was tired of the public sympathy, and that tiredness seemed to seep into her work, affecting those around her. Richard Burton wasn't shy about calling her a monster. "I loathe her today, but now I also pity her." According to the Richard Burton diaries, she is a tired old woman who lives entirely on that weekly show. Keith DeBito, who played Little Ricky, remembered a similar tense atmosphere on set. You had to walk softly around her sometimes. He said that if she wasn't feeling well that day or something, there would be a tenseness in the air. She had a temper. Still, after her divorce, Ball seemed to gain a new sense of clarity. According to actor Charles Pomerantz, she became a source of wisdom for other actresses going through their own breakups. She actually coached a number of actresses when they got divorced. He shared her biggest piece of advice: if when you're famous, the biggest problem you'll have is that the men you attract will feel shackled. Daisy Arnaz's death broke Lucille Ball to her core. What happens when love isn't enough to keep a marriage together? For Lucille Ball and Daisy Arnaz, answer was clear: they had to let go. They had reached the point of divorce, and there was no going back, as Keith DeBito Daisy Jr. remembered, S. best friend, and on March 4, 1960, after 20 years together, Hollywood's golden couple officially ended their marriage. Unlike many bitter Hollywood breakups, their relationship seemed to get better after the divorce. Their daughter Lucy Arnaz said that getting divorced was the best thing that ever happened to them. Both went on to remarry, Lucille with Gary Morton and Daisy with Edith M. Herr, but it was clear to those who saw it. Lucy said in Desilu, the story of Lucille Ball and Daisy Arnaz, that her father's last words to her mother before he died were, "I love you too, honey, good luck with your show." And when Lucille Ball died years later, her second husband Gary Morton seemed to know where her heart really belonged. His friend Paul Stewart remembered that after she died, Gary told her, I guess she's happy now. She's with Daisy. It was tragic that Lucille Ball died while she was still recovering from surgery. In April 1989, she had a heart attack at the age of 77 and had more than 7 hours of open-heart surgery. Her surgeon said she was cautious but hopeful, giving fans and family hope. Comedian But Hope said, "There's only one Lucy. Like the rest of the world, my wife Dolores and I are praying that everything will be okay." Even though there was so much love and concern that hospital switchboards were overloaded with calls from fans and reporters, Ball's health quickly got worse. Just a week after being admitted to Sinai Medical Center, she died on April 26, 1989, from a ruptured abdominal aorta. There was no sign that this would happen. After her death, Ball's longtime friend Michael Stern shared a comforting thought with her private nurse. That Tuesday night, she felt good knowing that everyone loved her. I think she needed that. Even now, decades later, everyone still loves Lucy, who got Lucille Ball's money when she died. But what was the famous redhead like as a mother? Lucy has said that both of her parents worked long hours at the studio, giving her and Daisy Jr. a fancy but often lonely childhood. Ball had her kids when she was 40 and 42, and she had a hard time connecting with them. In an interview with KCRW, Lucy said that her mother often asked friends like Debbie Reynolds for parenting advice because she didn't know how to raise her children. Ball was flying blind when it came to parenting because she lost her father when she was 4 years old and had a working mother who was rarely home. In another interview with WTOP, Lucy talked about her childhood and said that even though she and Daisy Jr. had a lot of money and privilege, all they wanted was more time with their parents. There was a lot of chaos at home because Daisy Arnaz was an alcoholic, which caused a lot of fights. But Lucy has always said that her parents were creative geniuses and deeply loved each other, even though they had problems. Ball died on April 26, 1989, at the age of 77. Her estate, worth $40 million at the time, about $80 million today, was split between her 2 children and her second husband, Gary Morton. 7 years later, Morton married professional golfer Susie Mallister, but Lucy still says that her parents loved each other. He died in 1999, leaving Mallister with the rest of Ball's belongings. More than a decade later, Mallister decided to auction off many of Ball's personal items, such as jewelry, awards, love letters, artwork, and even a Rolls Royce, saying she was remodeling her home. This caused a legal dispute with Lucy, who was especially upset about the sale of her mother's memorabilia and threatened to sue to stop the auction. In response, Mallister filed her own lawsuit. The judge eventually said that the sale would only stop if Lucy could post a $250,000 bond, which she didn't have. Instead, the 2 women came to an agreement. Lucy got her mother awards and gave them to a museum, while McAllister went ahead with the sale of the rest of the items. The 2010 auction brought in over $230,000, with Ball's love letters and the Rolls Royce being 2 of the most valuable items. Lucille Ball's haunted family home was sold, but the characters in movies lived in a cozy New York apartment. The real Ball and Arnaz lived in a much fancier Beverly Hills home for many years. Ball's rise to fame began as a model and Broadway chorus girl in the 1930s, but she didn't find her true calling until she started doing comedy. While working at RKO Pictures in minor film roles, Ball met the charismatic Cuban band leader Daisy Arnaz. They quickly fell in love and ran away, starting a fast-paced relationship that led to the creation of I Love Lucy, a show that would make both of their careers. Ball and Arnaz got married in 1940 and had children, Lucy and Daisy Arnaz Jr., in the early 1950s. By 1954, the family had moved into their beautiful Beverly Hills estate. Ball and Arnaz got divorced in 1960, but Ball chose to stay in the house for almost 3 more decades until her death in 1989. Some say she never really left. There are still rumors that Lucille Ball's ghost still lives in her beloved Beverly Hills home. Over the years, many strange things have been reported, including windows moving on their own. Shocking, Unexplained yelling from the attic and furniture that seems to move on its own have been reported by some of Ball's close friends. It's easy to see why she'd want to go back. Old photos of the house show a happy family life, and the area used to be a hub for Hollywood royalty. Ball's longtime neighbors included legends like Jack Benny and Jimmy Stewart, who often dropped by with fresh vegetables from his garden. Lucille Ball's first home in Hollywood in 1933. Lucille Ball moved from New York to Hollywood and rented a cute craftsman-style bungalow at 1344 North Ogden Drive in West Hollywood, California. She was only 22 years old at the time and had just signed a contract with RKO Pictures for a role in Roman Scandals. At first, she lived there with her brother, but soon she brought the rest of her family out from New York to join her. At the time, they paid a ridiculously low rent of $85 a month. The house is 1,874 square feet on a 751 square foot lot and has 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. It was last listed for $1.75 million in 2016, and with the real estate market being so hot right now, it would probably fetch even more today. But it's fun to imagine what it must have looked like when Lucy Ball was a young actress to be living there. Built in 1919, the house still has some of its original craftsman charm, even though it has been updated over the years. Lucille Ball's 1936 voter registration is a fascinating piece of history connected to this house. Lucy's previous address was listed as New York, but there is one surprising fact that stands out. She was registered as a communist. This would come back to haunt her years later. Ball's grandfather, who also lived in the house, was known to host Communist Party meetings there, which led to an investigation by the House Un-American Activities Committee in 1953. Ball said she had been young and naive at the time and didn't know much about politics. But during Ball's Hollywood career, the scandal briefly turned into a scandal. Ball lived in this house for a few years before moving into her own apartment and leaving her family behind. The house has since been renovated, which has changed some of its original charm, but some things from Lucy's time may still be there. The many multi-paned windows and French doors let in a lot of natural light, and the dining area, breakfast nook, and kitchen make the house feel very open. Even though it's been a long time since the Ball family lived there, the house is still an important part of Lucy's early Hollywood history. That's all for today's video. Thanks for watching. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel before you leave.